All right, YouTube, this Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit with an interesting video. And I thought about making this reaction video the first time that Marc Lamont Hill went to the college campus the other day in, I think it was New Jersey. Now, if you've been following my channel, I showed you how they passed the law in the Congress, the HR bill dealing with anti-Semitism, and how it went against the First Amendment, restricting the First Amendment. Then I showed you yesterday how they passed another law with FISA undermining the Fourth Amendment. Now, they've been talking about all the student protests that's going on around the country. And they've been talking about how the students are being manipulated by outside forces and being used and to create civil unrest. But people, I know you're not going to like this, but Marc Lamont Hill is acting as an agent. These young students, most of them are under 25. Frontal lobe brain is not even developed. He is out there agitating them in the conflict that's going on in the Middle East. Now, these students, they are young American students, a lot of them, but a lot of them are also foreign students who may not even agree with what's going on in America as a democracy. But Lamont Hill, he used to be mainstream media, but mainstream media got rid of him. In the face of all these laws and censorship and being canceled, the things he are saying shows you that he is deliberately agitating these students. He's deliberately misleading these students. And you may wonder why I would say this. Let me show you what he's saying on these campuses. This is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for commentary educational purposes and the First Amendment. Listen what Lamont Hill is saying to these college students.
I've been waiting to come out here because I keep hearing all around the world and definitely around this country that the students are taking over. They said we can't walk through campus, we can't get what we want done. Nothing is happening because these students are camped up, they're posted up, they keep shouting, they keep marching. And you know what I said? I said, God damn it, good. Because we have tried as poor people, we have tried as black people, we have tried as queer people, we have tried as trans people, we have tried as undocumented people to get our rights acknowledged, to get our freedom acknowledged by being polite, by walking in, by sitting in, by whispering in, by writing strongly worded letters. And you know what? None of it works. The only way you get what you want is to shut it down. If we don't get it,
Listen to what he's saying to these young people. In the face of all the civil unrest, in the face of all the censorship, in the face of everything that's going on in this country, he's going to these young people, telling them not to protest nonviolently, but to shut things down. To shut what down? What power do they really have other than the power to provoke the powers that be through civil unrest and through the threat of violence? Listen to this man that claimed the fame is to be some type of leader in the black community. Look how he's agitating these students. Now, I know a lot of people may like Lamont Hill, but clearly you can see what kind of bag he's coming out of. Listen to some more.
if we don't get it, if we don't get it, and that's what we're doing right now. We shut it down. But see, the problem is the media will have you thinking that we are shutting it down in the spirit of hate. smear y'all. They criminalize y'all. But we know better right here. We know better. This is not a march against Jewish people. This is not an anti-Semitic meetup. This is a principled struggle against Zionism. And don't let the media or anybody else have you think that when we say it's a principled struggle against Zionism, that we're talking about Judaism or that we're talking about Jewish traditions or Jewish cultures or Jewish rituals. No. We're talking about political Zionism. We are talking about the creation of a Jewish ethno-state in historic Palestine that dislocated and dispossessed indigenous Palestinian people, took their homes, took their land. That's right.
Even if you believe what he's saying, why is he radicalizing these young American college students? Why is he provoking them in the face of this governmental overhandedness with the Constitution? What is he really doing? Clearly, see through this man, because he's been doing this around the country at different college campuses. I want you to hear everything that he's telling these young people. These are young people. Now, I'm almost 60 years old, and clearly I know that he's taking them somewhere that they really don't want to go. He's taking them somewhere that the country really doesn't want to go. But why? Have you ever heard of somebody controlling their opposition to get to a certain point? He's making them so agitated that he will provoke them, and then that will provoke the powers that be. Why would he be doing this? He's an older man. He's older than these students. Continue to listen to what he's saying to these young people.
That's what we're talking about. Palestine was always diverse. Palestine always had a Jewish presence. Palestine always had a Christian presence. Palestine always had a Muslim presence in the modern era. That ain't the issue. The issue is that at the end of the 19th century, we saw waves of European immigration that came not to share the land, not just to pursue freedom. And let's be honest, freedom was needed. Anti-Semitism is a global thing. Jewish hate is pervasive everywhere, and it has been throughout history. Wherever Jewish people have been, they have been marginalized. They've been hated. They've been disrespected. They've been subjected to hatred and insecurity and perpetual victimhood. That ain't the problem. The problem is you cannot jump out of the burning buildings of Europe and land on the backs of Palestinian people in the region. So let's be clear about what we're here for. But you also have to understand why you're being resisted right now, why you are facing such opposition. And the opposition didn't start on October 7th. They'd love you to believe that the opposition started on October 7th. We did a Palestine Rights Festival right here on this campus. And this institution stood up and tried to shut it down. They tried to silence us. They tried to ban me. They banned Roger Waters. That's right. They banned me. They banned Roger Waters. They put all the people on mugs and cups and trucks and tried to say that we were teaching hate when in fact all we were trying to.
With everything that's going on in our own communities, with the divisiveness in our own country, with inflation, with everything that we're dealing with as American citizens, why is he pushing these students so far left in the face of the adversity this country's always are already facing. Look at this and see it for what it is. He's being an agent provocateur. Somebody is paying this man to push this leftist agenda with these students under the guise of him being a black man. Now, you may not like what I'm saying, but trust me, you don't get to be my age and live through and see all the things I've seen to not recognize this is controlled opposition. Marc Lamont Hill is being used as a tool to radicalize these students, then force the government to clamp down on them, which will clamp down on other citizens. He has an agenda. Listen closely.
Do is acknowledge the spirit and tradition of resistance and the tradition of solidarity with the Palestinian people. And if you ever wondered what side of the aisle, what side of the political spectrum, what the vision and goal of this university and most universities is, you find out after October 7th, they are not operating in the interest of justice. They don't give a damn about justice. This university is committed to maintaining the status quo. This university is committed to silencing the voices of dissidents and resistance. This university would rather get rid of faux presidents than allow the world to know that the Palestinian freedom struggle is a legitimate one, and that we have a duty to stand in solidarity and love with you.
Why would he tell American students, our children, that they have a duty to stand in solidarity in a war in the Middle East that has very little to do with what's going on in their own communities, in their own families, in opposition to their own government? Are you hearing this? I know we have a lot of people that come onto my channel and they leftists. You know what I mean? And they come to undermine and to create havoc. But if you can't see what this man right here is doing with your children and with your students at these college campuses, you blind. Listen some more.
Now, some folks gonna say, why don't y'all just focus on school? We ain't got time for all this. Let's talk about that. You see, school ain't neutral. School ain't never been neutral. Every single day that this university has committed not just hundreds, not just thousands, not just millions, but billions of dollars in investments in nation states that repress and oppress and genocide and erase and kill. And I'm not just talking about Palestine. This university has blood on its hands. And so we can't be students here in good conscience any more than we can be American citizens in good conscience and not recognize the fact that it's our money that's underwriting the occupation. It's our money that's underwriting the apartheid state. It's our money that's underwriting the genocide. So nobody in this room has the luxury of being neutral. Nobody out here right now should be patting themselves on the back because you all good and progressive and radical and liberal. You just doing your job. I want to salute all the faculty who have stood in the gap for y'all. I want to shout out all the professors, all the instructors, all the staff who have worked to form a united front with us. Yes, give us a minute. But let's be clear, again, We're not doing you no favors.
LegalZoom makes it simple to start an LLC in 3 easy steps. Your business dreams.
We are in a space right now that says they love free speech. They love the clash of ideas. That's what they say, right? That's definitely what they say when it's time to hear some Islamophobic or sexist or homophobic or racist shit. They say, well, we're a free speech bastion. We got to let everybody talk. That's what they say, right? Oh, they love free speech when it's white, patriarchal, cisgendered men doing the free speaking. But when it comes to boycott, divestment, and sanction, oh, now that's un-American. Hypocrisy! It is hypocrisy. It is hypocrisy. And it's also disingenuous. I'm old enough to remember last year. If only Palestinians could be nonviolent. If only the Palestinian Gandhi could emerge. Where's the Palestinian king? I know what they did with the American king. They killed him.
You see his hyperbole? He has just alluded to these citizens of America, these young American students, telling them that nonviolence doesn't work. You see how I slid it in? Listen to this man. He has an agenda. And what he's doing, and he's making his rounds on all the college campuses with this same rhetoric in our faces as adults. Think about what he's saying to these students about what's going on in a foreign country when they should be finishing out their semester. You know what I mean? Some of them planning on graduating, thinking about where they're going to work and how they're going to fit into the society that their parents are paying into. And look at what he's doing.
But there have been non-violent resistance movements in Palestine for over a century. The Great Revolt of 1936 to 1939 began with a 6-month general strike from April to October. And guess what? You still didn't get justice. They said, well, just sit down with us. We had the Oslo Accords of 1993, which was supposed to build a peace process and a 2-state solution. And the only thing it did was strip Palestinians of more sovereignty, divide historic Palestine into Bantustans, and create the context where the state of Israel has now basically annexed all of historic Palestine, and everybody keeps kicking the ball down the field, talking about a 2-state solution, when in fact, there's nothing but a 1-state reality controlled by an apartheid Israel. They said if you would just march peacefully, put your weapons down. Just a few years back, there was a great March of Return when Palestinians were marching toward the undeclared borders of Israel, and Israeli soldiers shot them down, unarmed. Cowards. So please, don't tell me if we just behave, we'll get something different. Black folk know about that here in the United States, right? That's what they told us, right? If you just dress right and pull your pants up, you'll be okay. They shot us in suits. They lynched us in khakis. They said if you would stop running from the police, you'd be fine. Eric Garner stood right there and was killed. They said, if you don't go to bad neighborhoods, you won't look guilty. Breonna Taylor was killed in her own home. Floyd's last moments were spent with a knee on his neck, crying for his mother.
I know some of you may like this type of rhetoric because you're not wise enough to see behind what he's doing, how he's linking the American experience, the civil rights movement, and the American trauma to what's going on in the Middle East. He's linking American traumas and American divisiveness to a foreign conflict, but he's doing it with our children, with our young people. Of course, we stand for freedom of speech, but this man is a professor. He knows in the back of his mind that he's making the youth emotional by exposing them to traumas that they don't even understand. How can anybody that's an adult not clearly see that he has an agenda? Seriously.
As the police executed him like an animal in the street. Peace is our goal. Liberation is our destiny. But please understand, justice is the precondition for peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. We are going to do our best to continue fighting and organizing and building peacefully, because that's who we are. But we don't fetishize peace. Okay. We don't romanticize peace. When the Irgun and the Leahy were committing terrorist strikes, these were the Zionist militias before 1948. They were marching and peacefully protesting. When right now in the West Bank we see settler raids, when we see homes destroyed and crops pulled up, it ain't peaceful protesting. Now, our moral center is different. We don't want to be like our oppressors. But we also will not accept a narrow politics of respectability that says that we are only human beings if we lay down and remain vulnerable to death.
I want to stop right there for a minute and show you how he opened the door subtly to violent resistance from college students. He opened the door and left the violent resistance aspect on the table to these young people as if they are the people over in the Middle East being oppressed. Why is this man doing this with these young people? I want you to focus on this. Like, share this video to everybody. Look at what he's doing with your children.
Right now, as university students and faculty and outside agitators like me, we're enjoying an extraordinary privilege because as we stand here at a university, every university in Gaza has been destroyed. As I stand here as a faculty member, hundreds of Palestinian scholars and intellectuals have been executed by the Israeli state. As we stand just blocks from kindergartens and elementary schools and high schools, Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Palestinian schools have been absolutely destroyed, and students have been able to go to school in over 6 months because of the Israeli genocide. So as we stand here as students, in case y'all needed another reason to protest the genocide, and you damn sure don't need another reason to protest the genocide because it's wrong as such. But even if you did, what you tell them is you are here as young and seasoned scholars fighting the Israeli scholasticide that has destroyed the educational system of Palestinians everywhere.
What do these young American students have to do with what's going on the college campuses in the Middle East? As I've said time and time again, when their own communities are unraveling, when laws are being changed that threatens the very foundation of the Constitution, he is radicalizing them deliberately to create a condition that will bring the heavy hand of government authoritarianism down on not only those campuses, but communities and the average American citizen who's trying to pursue their own American dream, that's going to work every day, that's not paying attention to who's doing this. He just called himself an agitator. He said it himself.
You see, settler colonialism is about erasure. It's not just about killing folk. It's not just about removing folk. It's not just about extracting labor. It's not just about any of those single things. It is not an action. It is an event. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. It is not an event. It is a structure. It is a system. It is a set of practices. And the design of the Israeli settler colonial project is to erase not just Palestinian people, but the memory of Palestine, the story of Palestine, the history of Palestine, the artifacts of Palestine, the olive trees of Palestine. Yes. They want all memory to be gone, just as we did here in the United States, just as they did in Canada and Australia, in New Zealand, and every other settler colonial state around this wicked globe. They want to erase the indigenous people and replace them at the same time, extracting as much value from their labor and their land as possible. So we understand that when we fight back, when we resist as we're doing tonight, part of what we're doing is trying to end a vicious war on the Palestinian people. We're trying to do that. But we're also fighting a broader settler colonial project that has waged war on the Palestinian people since 1882. That is the work that we must do, because this war will end. This war will end. I promise you, 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 this war will end.
As I've stated before, when I've addressed this topic, I'm almost 60 years old, and the conflict in the Middle East has been going on way before I was even born. Marc Lamont Hill knows in his mind that these students will not have any effect on the decisions made by Netanyahu, Biden, or any other globalists who are tied into this conflict. But what he is doing is he's putting a target on their back. He's making them enemies of the state for no apparent reason other than the fact that he wants to run his mouth. Now, what is he going to do? If he feels as strongly as he feels, why isn't he over there in the Middle East saying the things he's saying right now over there in Gaza? Why is he talking to your children that you sent to college to get an education, to be better citizens? Is he really that militant, or is this the air? Because I've never known him to bust a grape. I don't think he'd throw rice at a wedding, but he's definitely geeking these students up.
But even when this phase of the war ends, and when I say war, I'm not talking about what's happening since October 7th. That's not a war. That's a genocide. What I'm talking about is the war on ideas, the war on human liberation, the war on human freedom, the war on free speech, the war on bodily autonomy and self-determination. We gotta talk about that too. Where the liberal feminists at? There's a whole lot of liberal white feminists that had a lot to say, but have nothing to say about a war that has destroyed, literally destroyed IVF centers, that has literally destroyed human embryos, that has killed tens of thousands of people, 2/3 of which are women and children. Where all the pro-lifers at now? The problem is, pro-lifers think all humans have a right to life, but they've decided to believe that Palestinians are not human. Where are all the Democrats at? Weren't they the ones that told us they were the better alternative? From what I can see, Genocide Joe. Genocide Joe? Genocide Joe? Genocide Joe? Genocide Joe? Genocide Joe has created a very clear message that him and Israel are going to remain lockstep.
It's waving in people's face.
He has used, like every other American president, Democrat and Republican, America's money and power to send weapons, to send defense systems, to use the veto power of the United States and the United Nations as a permanent member to veto ceasefires. This war ends when the U.S. says they've had enough. But the U.S. never has enough war. They never have enough imperialism. They never have enough black and brown death. So what we got to do is marshal our resources, our energy, and make sure that we force their hand to give them what we want. Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. So I'll be very clear. You can't vote your way to liberation. You can't go in the ballot box and get free. But voting is a tactic. It is a strategy. And using the tactics and the strategies to our best advantage has to mean something. Our brothers and sisters in Michigan have said we are uncommitted, that we're not just giving our votes away. Pennsylvania said we're not just giving our votes away. We got to keep that energy for November. No ceasefire, no vote. No ceasefire, no vote. No ceasefire, no vote. No ceasefire, no vote. And after November, we still got work to do, family. I know we got enough issues and problems in this city alone. We got police repression here.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
We got to colonizing, occupying force in the University of Pennsylvania that has taken over West Philadelphia and the rest of the city, just like Temple is North Philadelphia. Against the backdrop of those forces, and we got to deal with a repressive state, and we got to deal with rape culture, and we got to deal with mass poverty, we got to deal with a vicious capitalist system and racial capitalist system that is undermining the prosperity of everybody out here who's catching hell the month lasting longer than their money. We got all of these issues, but the key is to recognize that these issues are inseparable. I don't just struggle for Palestine because it's the right to struggle, and it is the right to struggle. And I encourage everybody out here who's marching for Palestine to also be marching with us for reparations right here in the United States.
Can you see, if you follow what he's doing, he's linking or attempting to link American issues to what's going on in the Middle East, knowing that what he's doing as an agitator is destructive to the cohesiveness in American culture right now. He's taking the intelligentsia, our college students, your children, and he's radicalizing them and putting them in the line of fire, while at the same time giving the government authoritarian reasons to clamp down on the rights of all citizens. This man is not doing this for any righteous reason. He's doing it because he has an agenda. And he's really manipulating their young minds. This is mass manipulation on young people. You know what I mean? I do have something against the brother because I know he knows what he's doing. And he's doing it for a reason that is sinister. What are these young college students really going to do that's going to affect change in the Middle East? Think about it. Think about what he's edging them on to do and participate in.
But I also understand that my experience here in a patriarchal, white supremacist, imperial, settler colonial state is directly tied to forces of capital and forces of power that also oppress my Palestinian brothers and sisters, that also oppress my brothers and sisters in India and in China and in Cuba and in Brazil and in Sudan and in Haiti. And Puerto Rico, for sure. And so our work cannot stop after graduation. Our work cannot end when this semester ends, when you turn your finals in, or you turn in your dissertation, or you walk off this campus and go back home. The work cannot stop because the oppressive forces that confine all of us to less livable lives will not stop. Every single thing that oppresses us today will oppress us tomorrow if we don't continue to fight, if we don't continue to organize, if we don't continue to resist in every form possible. So, family, at a moment where everybody's telling us that the forces are against us, that the power of Zionism and the power of American imperialism is too enormous for us to succeed, I will just remind you that the evidence, the odds of victory has always been against the oppressed. The powerful always look unbeatable right until the moment where we beat them. so I don't want you to think for 1 second that the time you spend in these encampments, that the time you spend marching down the street, that the time you spend holding up these flags, that the time you spend dedicating your political energy to the spirit and tradition of Sumud or steadfastness. Don't ever believe that it is in vain, because I have never been more certain. I have never been more certain. I have never been more certain than I am at this moment, at this place, and this juncture in history than I am right now, that we will be victorious in our struggle. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Palestine! Hula hula! Bilal barra barra! Palestine!
Wow. Now, I know I've told you guys before. In college, my major was political science. What he's doing is not only socialism, but it's communism, rhetoric. He's influencing them to think that they should have their own revolution and overthrow their own government. And he's hitting all the traumas, and he's linking several different movements. And you may ask why I say that. Listen to every word he says to these young people whose frontal lobes have not even been fully developed. Listen to the manipulation, the trauma bonding, and the radicalization. And you tell me, who is Marc Lamont Hill? This Detroit's HPTV, signing to you out of Detroit. Keep your head on a swivel and salute to all patriots. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.